So thank you so much for being here. A bit small words who Luis is. So like Tomek said, I wrote a book 2-3 years ago called Getting Value Out of Agile Retrospectives. And for this special talk, I did something for you guys. There is a Polish version of this book, and the foreword was written by Kate, and I do not dare to pronounce the Polish name because I do not want to look so bad. So Kate wrote the foreword, and if you follow this link, you have a free copy of a Polish version, special for you. So, and it's around $10, and it's for free now for you. So I wrote this book, and this book, just 2 minutes for you. This book is basically a collection of tools for Agile retrospectives. There was a lot of stuff on the market. Before there was just Diane and Esther book, and I collect a bunch of tools together with Ben, and we put it together, and it's ready for you for free. Then, of course, this book gave me some nice contacts, nice network, and I decided to write my second book, and this is why I'm actually here today for you. So I've been writing this book for, like Tomek said, 2 years, more or less. I hope to have it ready by the end of this year. And what I found out on that book, this is what I coming here today to tell you, to talk about you. So I had some interesting people to help me write the book, most of them I believe. And I believe it will be a really good contribution to help companies to get rid of performance appraisals and, more importantly, create agile companies so that we can really help our employees to perform and to help our companies to do great stuff. So let's start. What is an agile organization? For me, an agile organization is the one that can learn by itself and adapt to the market conditions faster than competitors, producing constantly value to their customers. But how do you become an agile company? In my opinion, and based on my research and studies that I did for my book, the key point is to become a learning organization. Who does know this person on this picture? Peter Zank. Tomek, I was looking already for you because if you did not know it. So this guy, Peter Zank, wrote this book. Does anyone recognize this cover? Yeah, you don't count. So this book is about learning organizations. It's about systems thinking, but basically it's about how to create learning organizations, which is the engine of a really true agile company. There are 5 things that companies need to have in order to become a learning organization. They need to create an environment where personal mastery is allowed. They need to create an environment where team learning is allowed. They need to create an environment where people and the organization thinks in the system. So a lot of you work in organizations. How many of you really work in organizations that are fully in charge of departments? Marketing department, HR department, IT department. I guess we all work, right? How many of you work in companies that actually, companies are structured in the way that we can see the whole system. We can really measure everything what's going on from end to end. I guess very few companies, right? The marketing optimized for the marketing, the finance optimized for finance, product for product, QA for QA, and so on, so on. I don't need to continue. You know what I'm talking about. So this is another key aspect of a learning organization. We need to build companies that are built in a way that they have the whole picture on the back. We need to create organizations that allow people to be challenged with their own mental models. Mental models basically are These kind of symptoms that when you ask something, oh, I always did it like that. We did it in this way, we always did it in that way. So they are beliefs. People have beliefs and they are very difficult to be challenged. But we need to enable, we need to build companies that build environments where people are safe to change their beliefs. And the fifth one, which is one that I personally find very, very important, we need to have a shared vision. So, yeah, do you identify yourself with this one? I work with a lot of companies that it's kind of the stuff that it says there. So let's tackle it. So my talk today is, I built something completely different today for you. I built something that is very practical. So what I want you is tomorrow to go back, or tomorrow Monday we go back to your work and you have dozens of ideas that you can start to implement in your company. And that's how I implement this talk. So I hope this talk is very interactive. It will not be very long. I prefer to make it more compact, but space for you to give some answers at the end. But let's start. How to create a company that enables team learning and personal mastery. Who knows what community of practice are? Okay. So basically, a community of practice is a bunch of individuals coming together with an individual interest and discussing topics, share experience, sharing ideas. Of course, it's much more than that, but basically, you can think about it. One type of community of practice is book club. Does anyone practice this in your companies? 1 person, 2 persons, 3 persons. Okay, 4 persons. This is very cool stuff. So this is very, very good idea. Basically, what we do, or a company where I'm working is, we get together once a month, we select a book that people want to read. Right now what we are doing is, maybe we need to improve, but right now what we are doing is people read the whole book, all the individuals read the whole book, and then once per month we come together and we discuss what were the topics that we really liked in this book. But we go a little bit further. We discussed what is the small topic, 1 or 2 topics that we really liked in this book that we can apply now in our work. How can we improve the way how we work with those ideas? This is one possibility. Lunch talks. Does any of you has lunch talks in your companies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13. So this is another cool idea. So we created this in where I work because we found there was a lot of people with a lot of knowledge that they wanted to share. But there was no frame, no platform for people to share. So what we did create an internal calendar, basically, in our logbook, and we collect people that want to talk. And now we have every 2 weeks, we have people talking about different topics, because we have an organization with 400 people, so there is a lot of stuff ongoing. But we are in 4 different countries. So basically, it's very hard to talk with each other on a daily basis. So what we decided was to create something like this, where people in different locations every second week come and share what they are doing. This is very interesting as well for something that I will feed in a few minutes. But you can actually use these talks. You can record these talks because, like I said, we are in 4 different locations. So we use it, go to webinar, for example, or go to meeting, and we record those talks. And then these talks actually can be used as an onboarding process for a lot of people. So very concrete example, 2 weeks ago we had a talk about our continuous pipeline, the whole infrastructure, the whole thing, how everything works. So we recorded that talk, and now basically we are using it, or we will start using for onboarding. And then we are now people talking about, hey, let's create a YouTube tech talk of holiday check, and now we are starting thinking how to put this stuff live so that we can create a really cool company and a really good brand. Coaching, coding dojos, more programming. Any of you does that stuff? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So for the ones that do not know, basically, it's a bunch of people, again, coming together and practice. Practice, practice. We try to do this with the Scrum Masters, for example, and basically it's what we call coaching dojos, You basically have two people, one in front of each other, and one is the coach and the other is the coachee. And they pick up a problem, and during 50 minutes, they coach each other, or one coach and the other is the coachee, and we have the rest of the Scrum Masters looking what's going on and learning, and then at the end giving feedback. You can do the same with software developers. You have two guys pairing, getting a problem solved, refactoring a problem, whatever, and you can learn a lot. More programming. Who knows what more programming is? Okay, cool. More programming, basically, it's the whole team. So there is the concept of pair programming, which I guess most of you know. More programming is the same, but is a more extreme. So instead of two guys pairing with each other, you have the whole team. In front of a beamer, in front of a screen, the whole team with one keyboard passing around, they tackle a feature at a time. This is so powerful that some of my teams where I work with, they tried it and they said, I don't want to go back. Because it's very, very powerful. Knowledge sharing is fantastic. Engagement is awesome. And I can guarantee you it's 10 times more tiring than the normal programming, because there's no more Facebook, there is no more Skype, there is no more Slack. You are there with the team and you disconnect from the world, so you are super, super connected. Internal open spaces, skills market. That's another thing I think everyone knows. There is topics around open space, everyone knows what the open space is. So, how can you implement this in your company? So this is experience that I will share. Last year, I learned one of the biggest lessons of my life. I tried to do all that stuff that I presented here today to you alone by myself. So Luis was the Agile coach. I tried to implement everything for myself. I had the boss telling me, Luis, do whatever you want, but you are the ultimate guy responsible for everything. So I drove everything. What happened? I failed miserably because I was alone. So I did not create a group of people that share the same vision as I had. So it's very hard for me to do my whole coaching sessions and my whole coaching activities in the company, and then ramping up everything. So first thing what you do, and this really, really works, create a group of people, send an email to the whole organization, IT, product, whatever people you have. Send an email explaining the idea, explaining the benefits, explaining what you will get out of it. And then you'll be surprised with the amount of people that will actually help you to do this kind of stuff. And then you don't need to be in the center, you just need to be facilitating the whole discussions, and the whole people will help you. How are we doing this? So in our organization, we divided this in three big areas. Team level, which is basic sprint learning sessions, and this is a session that every team nowadays is doing. So every sprint, they get together with themselves and they say, I want to share something that I learned this sprint with the rest of the team. And they get for half an hour for breakfast and they share whatever they learned during the sprint. Book club, I already told you. Then organizational level, open spaces like I explained. Innovation sprints. So innovation sprints we call hackathon, FedEx days, whatever you want to call. Launch talks and chapters and guilds. This is a very popular concept from Spotify, which basically Scrum Masters now come together every 2 weeks. We discussed what problems we have and we share experience, we share problems, we share ideas. And the same we are doing with the rest of the company. Software developers, testers, and product owners, and anyone that has a common interest in a specific area does this kind of stuff. The way how we planned, so that we do not lose track, the cadence, innovation sprints, we have it twice a year. So every 6 months, we bring everyone to the same place, and we have a hackathon for 1 entire week, so that people can develop new cool ideas that they always wanted. One thing that we do, at least at this point, everything needs to be aligned with our product. So if you want to create some crazy innovations, go for it, but do it in a way that most probably the outcome can be included on the roadmap. And then we have the open spaces as well. And this is, again, twice a year. So the idea is every 3 months, we have something where we come together as a company, as a teams, to discuss, to innovate, and to create something new. On the external level, we do stuff on the external level. So I myself organize a meetup. So I work at this moment, well, here you cannot see, but holiday check. And We organize a meetup. It's a monthly meetup where basically we bring people together into the house, where we invite external speakers to come and speak. It's a very good way to actually acquire knowledge, because they come to our office, they come to our place, and they share what they are doing in their companies. And basically, after that, we get together and say, okay, what did we learn out of this? Is there anything that we can implement in our company? External meetups and conference. So here I am. So we send people to conference to go and see what's going on. Then we go back, we get together, say, yeah, we learned this could be very interesting, this could be very interesting. How can we do this kind of stuff? And Skype calls. So every month I try to get a person that is good in the topic. So I was talking about mob programming. One of the guy that created mob, it was Woody. I brought Woody. Now there's a huge discussion ongoing, 100% test coverage. Is this good, is this bad? So I'm talking with Lisa Crispin, and most probably I'll get her in the phone call within a couple of weeks. And this is very interesting because these people have a really nice brand, really good brand. When they speak, if I speak or if you speak, you are just an internal person, sometimes it's difficult because, it's just Luis. One of these crazy ideas. If you bring people from outside with this kind of brand, they will listen. So it's very interesting to start a really interesting discussion. Another thing that we need to have learning organizations, we need to have training. We need to train people. We cannot just hire people and basically expect them to grow by themselves. So what we are doing, and this is a bit to fit what I said before, we are creating software academies. Then we have people actually creating curriculums to help software developers, and not on software developers, but at this moment, software developers, to get them up to speed. So this continuous delivery pipeline and many other things, there are things that will be collected, and then we'll have curriculums. So then when people come on board, they know what they need to study in order to be a high-performing person, to help the team and to help the company. Crucial conversations. This is something very, very interesting. So for my book, I interview a couple of people in US, and they told me one of the most powerful trainings that they send their people now, and it's actually mandatory, it's an onboarding process, it's a mandatory process, it's crucial conversations. And I was a software developer, and I believe most of you were software developers when they start, we are not very good in talking with others. This is my experience. We are very good in coding, but talking with others, we are not very good. And this is a fantastic training, because this is really a training that teaches how to speak with others when the stakes are very high. So in Holiday Check, we are trying to put this as an onboarding process. So everyone that joins the company will get this training. I'll speak more about it. Feedback training. How many of you got feedback training in their life? Cool stuff. How many of you got feedback training in providing feedback? How many of you got feedback training in receiving feedback? Huh? See the difference? Providing feedback is kind of easy, but receiving the feedback, that's very difficult. And this is where companies do not invest. And it makes a lot of difference. So this is another thing, and I want to share a story, and this was like 3 weeks ago, a month ago. I needed to have a serious talk with one person, and it was a team member and a Scrum Master, and we went to a room to give feedback to a person. And in that moment, it was very interesting what happened there. So it was a bit stupid. It was a stupid constellation because it was a kind of a triangle. So the guy was in the middle, and I was here, and the other person was there. And I did not even realize that when we seated on the table. But I very fast, I understood what the heck was going on. So after 2 minutes, it was already a fight, people screaming and so on and so on. But luckily, I don't know why, I'm not a very calm person, but at that moment, I was very calm. And because I'm writing this book and I did a lot of research, I immediately understood what's going on. And I immediately asked a third person to leave the room so that I could talk with that person. And it was very interesting because I was talking to this person, no, you are doing a great job. And the person was replying to me, but you are telling me that I'm doing a shitty job. And the second person that was in the room, the third person, sorry, did not understood anything what's going on. And the thing is, I understood because basically, maybe you don't know, but when you give feedback and when other people feel threatened, the brain disconnects everything. The brain does not care if you are giving a positive feedback. They only focus on the negative and they do anything to defend themselves. It's the same with the cavemen, right? When the saber, the tigers came, they were not really thinking much. They just ran fast as possible. But the thing is, I was lucky to be calm at that time and understand what was going on. And I immediately changed completely my approach, and it ended to be a very good and productive discussion. But I don't think there are many people in the companies that are prepared for this kind of conversations. And if you do not provide the right training, the right preparation for these people, the things can go really, really, really wrong. Experimentation training. This looks very fluffy, but actually this is very powerful. This is basically training people that everything what we do is about experiments, nothing else. So currently I work in Germany, that stuff. Because the German culture, it's a culture that loves planning. They plan 10 years ahead to make sure that nothing happens, nothing goes wrong. Which is completely, when I came on the taxi, so Tomek was talking about taxi, so I have a story to share. When I came here, I was with Mary and Tom on the taxi, and they say something like, planning is the opposite of learning. And if you think about, that's very interesting, and it's exactly why it's so difficult in Germany, and why I'm fighting so hard for it. But creating an experiment culture is very hard, but it's very cool. Now I'm going to give you an example, and sorry, the letters are very small, but it's just for you to give an idea. This is an example of my personal company. So I have a company as well with a couple of friends, and this is what we call our experiment board. Sometimes it's annoying, because, sometimes even to go to the toilet, we must draw an experiment. But this is very, very, very powerful. If you are interested, contact me later on, but we do experiments for everything. So we do, for example, Facebook advertisements. We do marketing. We do email marketing. We do everything. And we draw experiments for everything. So if we do it, we expect to get that. And basically, we have our learnings. And then we have what we want to improve and what was successful. And right now, if I go back, when I do planning for my own business, if I want to plan a Facebook campaign, if I want to plan a book launch, so one of my partners launched a book, and we know exactly how much money each email brings us. We know how much emails we need to do X amount of money, because we do all these experiments. And for next time, we can already predict in a very good way what will happen, because everything what we do, it's about experimentation. Another thing that we have a long way to do in our companies, in our organizations, help managers and people that what motivate us, at least knowledgeable workers, not people that work on the construction or whatever, knowledgeable workers. What motivates us is purpose, autonomy, and mastery. Having these three things is the stuff that we need to do great work. How many of you are actually really, and be honest, motivating for a bigger salary or having a big bonus instead of having a relaxed environment where you can contribute for a bigger cause? Okay? Oh, man. You see? But we all believe that. And actually, most of the managers, I really believe that they believe on that. But still, there's a lot of people that do not understand this, and they still design systems and companies that attach bonus to people, attach bonus to performance and all that kind of stuff, when in reality, this is not at all what motivates us. I talk about system thinking. Causal loop diagram is something that you can do. It's like a 2 to 3 hours training. It's very interesting. It's teaching people how their actions and cause reactions on the system and how the system causes reactions. So now I give you a very, very, very interesting and appropriate example that I usually use for this slide and for this talk. When I was writing the first book, I had the opportunity to talk with a guy in Sweden. And he told me that on the beginning of 2000, they were working in a company that basically did software services. So they were like a factory, software factory. They got requests from people, they did the software, they deliver the software. But at that time, they were having a lot of bugs. So they decided, okay, let's try this XP stuff. I heard that this reduces the bugs and improves the quality. They tried the XP, and at the end, customer satisfaction was through the roof. Bugs almost non-existent. Everyone was happy. Who of you think this was great? Come on, don't be afraid. No bugs, customer satisfaction high. What can go wrong? Okay, some people there, some are shy. Okay, but then the financial result came. And it was one of the worst years ever of that company. You know why? Because they were charging before, and at that moment, bug fixes. After the moment that the software got very good, they start losing money because they were not charging bug fixes anymore. See, this is a perfect example how system thinking works. Improving something on your department, on your team, does not mean the whole company will improve. And this is where you need to be very careful. This is why it's so important for us to really understand what's going on. So, how can we apply this, all that stuff that I'm talking about in your organization? Well, do baby steps. Don't go full throttle with that. But I can tell you, in our organization, what I try to convince our management and HR is, because like I said, 4 different countries, one in Poznan, by the way, and I'm trying now to implement this in Poznan. So in Poznan we are 17, 18 people, so it's pretty okay to try an experiment like that. So what I'm trying to do, and I'm working with HR and senior management, is to apply all these trainings with the Poznan site. We'll draw some cool experiments. We expect to achieve something. We expect people to collaborate more and blah, 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 blah. So the experiments needs to be defined. But this is the idea. And this is how actually you can apply on your company. You don't need to go full steam. You can apply in your team. If you're a line manager, apply in your team. Get a trainer to come and teach all your team. Get a trainer to come and explain and educate. If you are a business unit, try to apply on your business unit, but you don't need to go full steam. Just try baby steps. But you know, we are always talking about system thinking. And Deming, who knows Deming here? This is a more popular guy. So for the ones that do not know, Deming was basically an American guy, and shortly after the Second World War, he was kicked out from US, he went to Japan, and he was just one of the guys helping Toyota to become what Toyota is today. So he's one of the guys helping the Japanese to create the Toyota manufacturing system. And the guy has a fantastic book called Out of the Crisis. You need to read that, that's awesome. But Deming already said many years ago, problems in our companies, 95% of the problems are on the system. They are not on the people. They are on the system. So what can we do? How many of you do Agile retrospectives on the team level here? Cool. Now we even have a Polish version to get it even better. And how many of you do Agile retrospectives outside of the team level, organization level, senior management level, middle manager? See the difference? It's huge. And the problems are on the organization. The problems are on the system. This is where we need to look. I'm not telling you to stop the team. No, continue. Right? Continue with the team. But be sure that the most of the problems are on the organization. So we will start to do Agile retrospectives on the organization level. We'll get a lot of impediments. Even on the team levels, we have a lot of impediments that are outside of team control, right? How many of you get impediments that teams do not have any power to change? What do you do with those impediments? And I'm serious, I would like to get some answers. How do you solve that? You ignore them. That's a very good one. Very honest ones. And do they get solved? If they are very hard, do they get solved? Okay, so you work in a good company, don't run away. Work around. But usually work around does not really fix the root causes, right? It's not sustainable. But you see, it's very hard, right? So what can we do? What can we do? What method tools can we do to actually fix this? Very easy. Organization input improvement or impediment board. So we started this in our company. Basically, we start an organizational impediment board. I put it improvement, sounds very positive, but in reality, everyone calls impediment. And all the problems that are found in the organization goes there. All the problems. And this is the interesting part, that not all of you will be able to do it, but if you do it, it's interesting. Who are the responsibles for this? Whole senior management. CEO, CTO, heads. Heads that are not really executive management, but they are part. So we have a place now where we can dump the problems, and we have the executive management taking care of them. Another tip for you, we had a problem before. Scrum Masters were not feel very happy, because basically they were coming up with the problems, but they were completely disconnected from the process, how to fix the problem. So now a way that we found to empower them and to make them more involved in the process is the person that raised the problem is part of the solution. So the Scrum Master will work together with the CEO, CTO, and the whole heads to get the problem solved. All the problems are written on an hypothesis. So again, these are always experiments. Every problem that we have, we create an hypothesis, and each hypothesis might have several solutions. And then we measure which one is the one that caused the biggest impact and is the one that cost us the less effort. And then we go for the one. This is a very basic one, and I'm not even sure anymore if it was good, but this was the first experiment that we draw. Basically, we hypothesized by creating an